Once again.
Morning.
I'm fine.
Noting what smart means, what we should do for empowering is that the line between the professional, the education should be for the purposes of
all the organizers of this very, I strongly believe, very nice gathering, very nice, and I do believe very productive youth and sport, the Ministry of IT industry and the Foreign Ministry.
Young, innovative people in this broader area, and now I'm naturally talking about Armenia. On Saturday, I saw the new young European ambassadors, which is a great initiative. Armenia is heading for serious reforms, and the European Union is supporting Armenia on this way. Better cooperation, more opportunities.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I started my day today with a bright event. It's bright not only because it's a bright day, it's sunny Yerevan with a lot of positive energy when you wake up. It's also bright because I'm here in one of the brightest spots of our nation, which is Matenadaran. And then I looked at your program. I found there very interesting words there about living smart means also living with art, music. It's not only about the digital, it's not only about youth. So this is more of a sort of a philosophical thinking rather than just giving you guidance. First, I would like to thank European Union for thinking young, and we're thinking about Armenia as a young nation. And thank you for organizing this event here. Yes, indeed, Armenia is a young nation. And when I represent my country, when I speak abroad, sometimes I think I'm a president of a startup. Yeah, indeed, Armenia is a big startup. I think Armenia has a huge history. Armenia has a history of thousands of years, but today's Armenia is a startup because everybody hopes that, everybody thinks that we have much more potential than what we have. That's a startup. Everybody is young thinking that he knows better than the other. Everybody knows that he can run it better than the others. Everybody is hoping that there will be one day a recognition worldwide. Everybody is hoping that there will be a flow of money into the country. So we are really a startup. And one of the features of this startup is being young. It's not about age. You can be 20 and old, you can be 60 or 50 and young. I'm happy that we have in this country a lot of also young ambassadors. Somehow, foreign countries are realizing that we are a young nation, that they're sending to Armenia ambassadors who are by spirit, by their energy, very young. So, yes, Armenia is a startup. So there are so many opportunities, and there is a belief and a hope that we will succeed, that will become, as a state, the next Google, as a state, or the next Facebook, or even better. Because this world is going to be much more complex than just networks. Now, thinking about living smart, I agree with Minister that when she said that this is inclusive, it includes not only science, technology, digital world, but also art, music, and other. From some point of view, I feel that I'm living also not in a startup, but I'm living in a sort of a Middle Ages. The bright Middle Ages, when the Renaissance was happening. When the Renaissance was happening exactly the same thing. That was a fantastic growth of technology, which was maybe primitive from today, because people have discovered mechanics, from Isaac Newton to others. But then they have discovered that in our activity, it's not only that you apply only science, but you can combine things. That's the time where you had geniuses like Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci and others, and scientists who were artists and artists who were scientists. So the 21st century is a time of renaissance. The 21st century is the time that you combine everything, and one helps the other. Looking at the world as a whole and understanding this is all can be combined and one activity will add value to the other. But living smart is wider than organizing yourself, giving power to young people, about education. You are living smarter now, your generation. I look at the generation of young people worldwide, not only in Armenia, and I compare it with the past. I would not say that we are in a time that, because we have more gadgets, we're more advanced. No, you don't need that. Because if you go 100 years back, there was a huge excitement with the development of science and arts. I think you cannot compare early 20th century with the rise of modern art, contemporary art, abstract art. It was a revolution, and the science revolution was there. So there was huge excitement for those who were young then. There's another challenge here now, and there's an excitement today. But there's also something that really is important. For me, living smart is not only combining digital with art and music. Living smart means combining everything. And I'm happy to see that younger generation is smarter than ours. When I was young, I was at university, and I was reading physics and mathematics. Those who were doing also sports, and I was one of them, were considered, you're wasting your time. If you're a physicist, you have to study, you have to work, don't do sports. Today is different. Younger generation of people are spending a lot of their time living smarter, spending their time and looking after their diet, looking after their health, exercising, and there's no contradiction. In fact, one helps the other. So living smart is much more wider as a concept than only just music, art, and digital and new world. So I'm encouraging our younger generation to really live smart. Get your education right, be happy, be free, be creative, learn as much as possible. Have the habit of living smart physically, doing your exercise and what you eat and how do you organize your life, but stay young until you are like Charles Aznavour, 94. Have your last concert a couple of days before you die. Or live smart as Kerkorian, who are more than 90. Do your business deal, the last one just a couple of days before you die. Live your life as a young person, because being young is not about age. So that brings me to another word, which is partnership. Yes, youth is our future, but your future is also about those who are young by spirit as well. Not only by age, but also by spirit. And it's a partnership of different generations. You see, if we think that we focus on youth only, then we'll be forgetting about the same youth in 40, 50 years' time. Because they will not be sort of a young in 40, 50 years' time. So the real living smart, being smart as a state, as a nation, is to combining the power of everybody. Because, as I told, being young is not about your age. It's about how do you live, how do you think, and how do you serve your country. So I think the real future is not only partnership between Armenia and the European Union, it's a partnership among Armenians of different generations, especially those who think, live, and act as young. So I will encourage the whole nation to be a part of this process. Because if we speak about education, it always says you need a professor or a teacher to teach. You said that you were. So you cannot have a school where you have only school children. You have to have the teachers as well. And the best schools are the ones that they live as a community. They understand each other. Because you cannot teach if you don't understand the next generation, because they're a bit different than who you are. So again, I like it. I like the logo. I like the idea. I like this wonderful idea that working together with European Union. And my message will be also, I think there is a lot that European Union can benefit working with countries like Armenia. Somehow, because I lived in Europe quite long, not only in Europe, but outside Europe as well. I have the feeling we are a bit younger than you. Well, we are a bit younger because you were a nation that believe in future. We're a nation that can make changes and make changes that will surprise others in a way that even in Europe you don't expect others to do. We're a nation that we are full of a lot of hope and enthusiasm and belief in future. So I think Europe becoming in partnership with us will help Europe to stay young, or maybe to become a bit younger, and to learn from us, from our experience, what indeed you will be needing to do to changing in Europe as well, because the time doesn't stop, there is no final stop, and we look at Europe as a partner, but a partner that we can have a partnership, we can learn from the partner, because then also we can come up with ideas for the partner. Indeed, Europe needs also changes even in the digital. Europe is a bigger market than the United States of America, am I right? But how on earth, when you look at the map, most of the startups and the venture financing is not in Europe. The biggest part of venture funds are based in the United States, and the biggest part of venture funds in the United States are based in maybe one state, California. And Europe, being much bigger physically market, doesn't have companies of the scale of Apple or Google, so there is a lot for the European Union, even in the digital world, to absorb and to gain and to compete with the world, be that United States or China and others. And this is where Armenia and the new Armenia, startup Armenia, with the new ideas can help even Europe to get what they need, because we are more aggressive, because we are younger and we can provide things, and we can do experiments that you will be a bit reluctant to do in Europe, because you have the system, you have the history and so on. So the world partnership is quite wide for me. It's a partnership inside the nation, and it's a partnership of the nation with the world, and it's a partnership specifically of the nation with European Union. And I will be there to support you, the young ambassadors of European Union, the becoming younger European Union. They will be very happy to help you to become younger and really a union that has values of 21st centuries. That values should be quite wide, because we live in times where we have to question many things. Democracy is an absolute value, but democracy in its application is a developing process. There's never final democracy. There's a process, there is a way of approaching democracy. Even European Union has to rethink about its future. Even European Union has to rethink about democracy, about democratic institution, because the time changes. Because you go back 50 years ago, people probably were voting, or their voices of individuals, of citizens, was heard once in 5 years at the voting ballot. Now, the voice is heard every day. And it's not every day, I'm sorry, every minute. Because you have this gadget, the digital gadget that makes you different. And this world is different. And it's not only that younger generation have to embrace living smarter life, a life of a scientist, technologist, musician at the same time, but also we have to realize that a lot of our activities are merging. Even politics. This is what I do now. Even politics, you look at the modern politics, you will find out that it merges somehow with entertainment, with the digital, with other activities. So my advice is, I'm there to support living smart, but it's all aspects. I'm here to support partnership with our friends, and I'm here to encourage our younger generation to be active members of a startup state called Armenia. Thank you.
The one challenge that we all have is that people of your age don't feel as young as you do. And I feel if they feel as young as you do, there's nothing so much more. That is the only challenge that I see. As long as people of your age feel as young as you feel, we will have no other problem in this country. Thank you.
Well, I like your comment. But I like the only part that is connected to me. I didn't like that. But I like that we have a challenge to make our other part of our younger generation to feel really young.
In order to see really developed startup. Thank you very much.
I'll try to respond to the question. Of course, it's an important question. If we look at our country as a startup, and me as the president of the startup company, I would like to share with you general ideas. Maybe they are general, but I think they are important that we have to realize that the canons, the rules, the way you run a small startup that is in digital world or in commerce, and the challenges that you are facing with a bigger entity which is up to a scale of a country are more or less the same. First of all, if you take a startup, it starts with a couple of people that have an idea. An idea, and they believe in their idea that this idea will be the one which will win. Will win a position, will become the biggest, the most prosperous. But as usually happens, when you are young, you think the idea is everything. And sometimes you are young and you have, when you are in business, and when I was young, I had computer businesses, and you make the same mistake. You think, well, the most important thing is the idea and the logo. And when you look at the logos of the young startups, you will find a lot of this lion face or so very powerful logos, because the people think that the logo is the most important. How you present the sort of a logo is the PR part of it. So the idea and the logo, and here you are there, but you are not. The 99% of your hard work is still ahead. So what is that you need in order to make a small startup successful, except the idea? Except the idea, you have to have a vision. And the vision is not the idea. The idea is what you want. Or the idea is about what is that you really want to do. But the vision is something different. It's the vision that is the one that takes the startups from point A of space and time, today here, to the next point with this another point which is B, space and time, and that space could be the world, or that space could be Europe, or the whole country, or in the time, if it's a 5 years time, 10 years time, 20. Then what do you do when you have the vision? In order to have a vision, you have to analyze where the sector is moving. So if you are a startup that is in virtual music management, so you have to know where the virtual music management will be in 10 years' time. If you are in a bigger business like a country, you have to know where the world is going to be in 10, 20 years' time, because you are going to live in that world. Your country is going to be a part of that world. So you have to have a more or less clear understanding or a visioning. Maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong, but you have to have a vision where the world is going to be. And then you have to have a clear vision where you want yourself being 20 years' time. So this is the world, I have to describe it. This is the electronic music in 20 years' time, and I want to have this sector of electronic music in 20 years or 10 years' time. This is the world in 20 years' time, and I want to be here. Vision of the world and your place in the vision. And then you have to come back in time. This is a wonderful exercise, going to the future and coming back. The moment you come back, then you have to build a plan. How to reach from point A to point B. And that plan is important. And that plan should be agreed by the board of directors of a startup, or those who are the founders. In the case of a bigger entity, it's the ones that work in the entity. In the scale of a bigger place like a country, you have to have the voice of every and each shareholder. And the shareholders in the startup are the citizens of the country. So you have to have a plan that is more or less agreed by the majority. And that plan must be very precise. So you have to have a clear plan of how to do it that takes you from point A to B. And the plan connected with a timetable and an action. But will that be enough? No. In any startup, even the ones that become big companies, there are many challenges. And one of the challenges is the word that you have here, youth. Why? Because when you have a startup, let's say in digital company, the one challenge that a lot of Armenian companies are facing here is the next generation of young programmers that can come and join. So one of our tasks in this program of development to the future is to invest a lot of time and money in education, which should be precise according to our plan. So we have to invest a lot of time in education. Then the environment. And this is the environment. You cannot have a startup when you don't have the right environment for a startup. I was speaking about America is the best place for venturing and startups. One of the reasons is the size of American economy, but the size is reflected into the presence of big multinational companies. Okay? In order to have digital in Armenia, we have to try to bring big multinational companies doing some research here. Their presence is the right environment where the startups will see what's happening in the international media and so on. So that's very important that where people know about us, but it's very important that we know about the world as well. And this is one of the things that Presidential Office has an initiative which is called ATOM, Advance Tomorrow, trying to bring big multinationals, be it like IBM, Google, or Dassault and Thales to Armenia to do R&D. Not to have a big industrial product, but to an R&D, because this R&D will help the younger generation to live in the right environment. When they compete, they can learn from big multinationals, and a lot of them will be European companies. Must be European companies. And then, I think it's important that we integrate the country. This country is not about Yerevan. Yerevan maybe is the half of the nation, but there are talented people outside. I think this brings us to integration, the whole nation, both geographically, the remote ones, starting from education, opportunities, giving the chance of giving startup, and small things can work, like co-op in Lori. I mean, it has completely changed the environment. That I believe that we have more challenges, but don't forget, every challenge is an opportunity. And you can make your life, you can make money, you can make success on a challenge, on the opportunity. And that will make your country stronger. Thank you.